Thank you for joining us. Oh, sorry, the recording in progress message always trips me up.
Mm.
Can everybody see the presentation correctly? All right,
Yes.
fantastic. So welcome and thank you for joining us again, and thank you for the introduction. I love that we have the partnership with Academic Advanced Programs and the College of Business to give you a little bit more information about some tips and tricks on building a standout graduate application or things that we look for. Meredith and I handle a lot of the recruitment side, and so as part of that admissions triangle between recruitment, admissions, and marketing, we tie very directly into the admissions side as well. We both work hand in hand with our program directors. So we know the things that they like to see when they're reviewing applications. Sometimes we help out with that a little bit, but certainly help out with the recruitment side of things. So welcome again. And what we'll do for today's agenda, we'll do a couple of introductions. You've heard who the two of us are, but we'll also just give you a snapshot of who the entire admissions team is so that you can kind of put some names to faces. You certainly do begin to start getting automated emails once you do showing interest in a program or asking for additional information. It comes between the four of us, so you'll see some of that. And then we'll go into the meat of exactly what you can do to make these aspects of your application better, including the goal statement that you'll have to write for 90% of the programs. A resume is required for most of our programs as well, so tips and tricks for that, as well as who you should get to write your letters of recommendation and some things they may include. Then also we'll talk a little bit about transcript review. There's not much you can do to change your grades once they're already earned, but what are things that we look for when we are reviewing a transcript? We're not just looking at a blanket GPA as an example every time. So once we go over those main aspects of what we look for in a standout application, we'll just quickly go over the list of what graduate programs we actually do offer and the deadlines associated with that. If you may be applying for this year, 2025, also 2026, 2027, most of these programs are cyclical on a yearly basis for the same entry for a semester. And last but not least, we'll wrap it up with a couple of additional ways you can continue to engage with Meredith and I. So here's a snapshot of the whole team. So I guess I'll start from left to right. So Kelly Dietrich is our Director of Admissions for the main campus graduate programs, and Robin Hoffler is our Associate Director for the UCF downtown programs. So there are different graduate programs with the College of Business where some of them are more cohort style based market rate programs that are hosted at UCF downtown. And then the remainder of our graduate programs are hosted at the main campus. And so we have two different admissions directors that kind of work with these different programs, but at the end of the day, we're all one very solid team. We do meet together consistently, and trust me, we talk about applicants together. So we know who's applying to what program. Sometimes an individual may be a better fit for a particular track of the MBA, as an example, that falls under one director versus the other. And that's when they'll communicate with each other, and we all look to see where's the best recommendation and where we can go with you. So it is one big team. That way you're not just being passed back and forth between random departments. It's all one happy family. That leads into myself. So George Fulgenetti, working with recruitment for the downtown program specifically. And then Meredith, one more introduction for yourself before I let you take over the back end of the presentation.
Sure. My name is Meredith Smart, and I am the graduate admissions coordinator for the main campus graduate program. So as George mentioned before, we do have some of our downtown programs and then some that are on the main campus. So I am the coordinator for the main campus programs. I work a lot with the recruiting, and then also those that are in one of the main campus programs. Myself and Kelly Dietrich, we are the ones that get you from day one to graduation day. So we work with you the entire time you're in the program with us.
Yep. And looking at the snapshot of our team, it looks like Meredith is the only one that got the UCF black and gold memo. This is the first time I've ever noticed this, and we've used this presentation slide for quite some time. So I'm going to give you kudos for that, Meredith.
Yeah.
Everybody else just goes with the standard Navy, it looks like.
Yes.
So we'll first start with a quote from Dr. Cartwright, our UCF's president, and I won't read it word for word. I just want to point out the bold word that you see there. For any of you or all of you that are UCF students, you've probably heard of the verbiage for unleashing potential a lot, but I love this part of the phrase. I love this verbiage and how it translates within graduate degree programs, because that's exactly the goal and the point, is that you have this unlocked, or rather at this point, partially locked potential skill sets and knowledge that we will help assist in bringing out. So you do have to bring forth that dedication, that time management, and that effort to earn your graduate degree. It's not an easy thing to do, but you have the potential within you. You have the skill sets. And that's the goal of our faculty, our team, the university, and your ultimate degree is to unleash that inner potential. So I absolutely love that verbiage and that phrase of unleashing potential, because that's exactly what a master's degree is built to do. You do put in a lot of work. It's a little, it's actually not a little, it's very different from an undergraduate degree program. There's minimal to no regurgitation. You are not memorizing things or guessing excellently well on a multiple choice exam. I was one of those undergraduate students that was very good at multiple choice exams. I could study minimally to not at all and get a 70% no problem by process of elimination. That will not happen in a master's degree program. And so that is something you'll overcome, but with the dedication and the study material and everything that we provide, you'll get there to that point. So before you become an admitted student and do all of these great things like unleash potential, let's talk about what it actually takes to get that admission offer and get admitted into that program, right? Most of our programs require that you upload a goal statement as part of the application process. With our goal statement, it's nothing tricky. It's nothing that we're trying to look for in inner verbiage that was not described in the instructions that we send you. We send you instructions. They're also listed on UCF's graduate application deadline and requirement page, where it lists 1,000 words or less, answer these 3 questions. So that is exactly what we want you to do. It's not a trick at all. Understand those 3 prompts, those 3 questions that you're asking, that you're being asked. One of which, for example, is why do you want an MBA? And with that, what is something that you hope to do with it or gain a skill set out of this MBA to do in your post-career or postgraduate career that you're going to enter into, right? So understand what these questions are asking, but they're very bold-faced and front-forward in what it's asking you, and be sure to answer directly towards that. I know it's common, or at least I've been out of my undergrad for well over 10 years. So I felt like it was very popular to add some kind of personal story that attributes towards your character and your goals and your drive. And we're looking for less of that. We don't need as much fluff or a particular personal story that built you into the character and person you are today. I want to know, when you get your MBA, what are you going to go and do with it? And it matters less the challenges you had to endure in order for you to earn your bachelor's degree. Now, that being said, you don't have to eliminate that completely. Please be authentic and feel free to reflect, especially when it is coming towards the transcripts. So that's a little bit of a back and forth. But if you have a particular semester where you did not do well, and that's something where we may notice that, that could be reflected in your goal statement, right? So understanding that I have this ultimate pursuit of a graduate degree, and I may have faltered during one semester in my undergraduate program. However, I had challenges that I achieved, or I'm sorry, rather, challenges that I was able to beat, and that is what prepares me to get this MBA today. So again, less into the detail of an actual personal story, but going into that you faced a particular challenge, if that may be the case in that area. So let's talk about building your resume. Again, simple professional format, no tricks to your resume. I know that our directors are not looking for a specific format. And what I mean by that is when you, let's say, for example, used Microsoft Word or whatever templating write software that you're going to use, they typically have resume templates that you can choose from. And go ahead and do that. I think the template that turns us off, for lack of a better word, more often than not, is the graphic design resume, okay? The resume that has a big picture of you on the left side and then has these dials left and right of your time management skill and your Excel skill, and it takes up over a quarter to half a page of just a pie chart of skills that you have. We're not looking for that. We want details and where you've worked, what you've done, and importantly as well, what those start and end dates look like, right? A lot of our programs, not all, do require some level of work experience, and we're going to need to know the exact months. There's a lot of you that have done an internship or may do an internship or part-time work experience. And so if that was only for 3 months, it's going to be important that you include this was an internship that I started in May of 2024 and finished in August of 2024, and then we can count those 3 months and then continue to count additional months towards your ultimate work experience goal if that's 1 year for a full-time professional MBA as an example. Again, not all of our programs require work experience, but if it does and you're building your resume, this is what we want to see. Start and end dates, bullet points for everything that you did within that job position, and then keeping that simple professional format. Now, to expand on that a little bit more, this happens a lot. You go through resume workshops, applying for a career, applying for work, and they tell you to simplify it to relevant experience only, keep it to 1 page. Forget that. This is an academic resume, very different. We want to see everything. I don't care if it's 5 pages long. It probably is not that long, but I do not care if it's 5 pages long, 2 pages long. So feel free to include everything that you've done. Volunteer experience, I want to see that. If you were in any organizations or club efforts, especially as a council member for that, include that. So put all of your achievements in there. And if you do have any achievements that are quantifiable, use that. Put numbers toward that if possible. So if you are a employee of the month for Publix, wonderful. I'd love to see that under the part of your resume that you worked there. But if there's anything quantifiable to employee of the month, like earned employee of the month from regular non-attendance, executing X amount of orders, whatever that may be, think about where and how you can quantify pieces of your experience in your resume. Ultimately, not required, but we're teaching you today how to build a standout graduate application. What type of things stand out to us versus others? And these would be some of those type of things. So I think I hit every bullet point on that one right there. Let's move on to letters of recommendation. Again, not every program is going to require letters of recommendation, but a good half of them do. Typically 2 letters of recommendation. So first, what you do in your graduate application is you identify or select your recommenders, okay? When doing that, be sure to speak to them first before you list them as somebody who's going to write you a letter of recommendation. UCF's graduate application process requires you to enter the recommender's email address, and the moment you click save, they get a notification right away that says, hey, Meredith is applying for UCF's MBA and she's asking you to write a letter of recommendation. Very embarrassing if you don't speak with them in advance and then they receive an email out of nowhere. So please speak to your recommenders in advance to let them know that you plan on applying for said program and you'd like to use them as a recommender to write a letter of recommendation. Then that being the case, go ahead and insert their information in there. Now, also when identifying recommenders, think about who's going to write that letter for you, right? We certainly don't want to have family members or friends. In fact, our directors will straight up email you and say, this is not acceptable. It needs to come from a different source. But identifying your recommenders, doing your best to ensure that it's somebody that can highlight your work ethic and what skill set, trade sets, and part of that work ethic will make you a good candidate for an MBA program. Again, these are things that help stand out. I don't see every letter of recommendation talk about these kind of things, but I do love to see this. This is something that really stands out to me when your supervisor says the time management skill set that I see, the loyalty, the dedication would make somebody, X person, an excellent candidate for an MBA as it requires these skill sets as well. Wonderful. Tie it all together. I love to see that. If your program requires letters of recommendation, it typically will require at least one comes from a current or previous supervisor, because those same programs will require work experience as well. The other one, again, anyone that's not a family member or friend. Those of you that are current students and more recent undergrads, that's pretty much all of you, you can certainly use a faculty letter of recommendation. That is no problem at all. So feel free to ask a faculty member or a professor that you've worked with closely that can write that letter of recommendation for you. But if you were in a large lecture hall and you did not engage with your faculty member often, a lot of them are very, very nice and will still write you a letter of recommendation. But when we read that letter, I'm going to be able to tell that it was kind of a blanket statement letter of recommendation, that they basically just picked 3 synonyms that went along with 2 hot keywords, pasted that as what you are good at doing, and then input your name. So be careful in who you're choosing as your recommender. Make it somebody who has that relationship with you and will actually speak about you and is not just copying and pasting names because they're owed 20 letters of recommendation in the next semester. That happens a lot with faculty members. So ensure that it's somebody that you have that relationship with. And make sure you give them the appropriate amount of time too. So when we talk about deadlines, and let's say a deadline is July 1st for you to have your application turned in. It's not appropriate to ask or contact your recommender 2 weeks before the deadline and say, I need this now. Okay. Let's be realistic, especially professional recommenders. They're going to need time, not just to write the letter, but then to be able to analyze exactly what they're putting into it and then giving us something quality, right? And this is a little side tip I would give you. I don't encourage a lot of lying or fibbing in your life, but this might be one time where you can do it. Tell that recommender your application's due 2 weeks before it actually is, okay? This might help push it along a little bit more to be done in the time frame needed. And then again, and not to harp on faculty too often, but sometimes they give things a couple of days past the deadline. So if you give them a 2 week pre-deadline and then they're 3 days late, guess who's not stressing? You. So that's a good reason or a good idea to work with sometimes. I remember doing that for my graduate application specifically. A little bit script review.
Perfect. Thank you so much, George. So as George mentioned, we're going to go over the programs that we do offer. So now that we've kind of learned about what makes a standout application, we need to know what programs we can use this towards. So as you can see on the slide, we do have a great selection of full-time programs and part-time programs. Some of the programs also could be either full-time or part-time, depending upon what you prefer as a student. So I'll kind of start with those first. So we do have an MS in accounting program, so the accounting MSA. That is a main campus program, and you choose as a student if you want to go full-time or part-time in that program. We also do have a financial technology MS degree, so we refer to it as our FinTech degree, but the actual name of the program is financial technology, and that is a cohort program that you can either do full-time face-to-face, so the classes would be in the evenings on the main campus, or you can do part-time online, and it would be completely online, and you would take 2 courses per semester, and that is a cohort program as well. That is the only online program that the UCF College of Business graduate program offers right now. Okay. So then some of the other full-time programs that are only offered full-time is our business analytics program, which is offered on the main campus. It is a daytime program. This program is full-time during the day. Some classes start in the early evenings. As of right now, the classes are 2 days per week. The program does not recommend having a full-time job with this program because it is a very heavy course load. It is a 1-year program, so you are done in 3 semesters. So you would start in the fall and then have classes in the spring and then the summer, and then you are done. Okay, then we also have the Masters of Science in Management Integrated Business program. So this is another cohort program. It is offered at the downtown campus, and it is full-time as well, but it is in the evenings. This program is a hybrid, so it is half online and half face-to-face, and it is in the downtown campus, and that starts in the fall semester as well. That is also a 1-year program. So you would start in the fall, have classes in the fall, spring, and then summer. Okay, and then we have the full-time professional MBA. So again, that is another cohort program that is offered at the downtown campus. And it is, just as the name suggests, it is a full-time program during the day. We also have our sport business management program. So this is a dual program that the College of Business offers. So students in this cohort are on the main campus and they take classes anytime from the morning into the evening. And when you earn this degree, you not only earn your sport business management degree, but also your MBA degree. So it is a dual program. You earn 2 degrees while doing this. Okay. And then we, of course, have our PhD programs. We offer a PhD in 4 tracks. So we have accounting, finance, marketing, and management. And of course, these are full-time daytime programs as well. So some of the programs that we offer that are strictly only part-time, we do have our evening MBA program, which is the only MBA program that's offered on the main campus. And again, as the name suggests, it is in the evening time. So you can take up to 2 classes per semester in the evening MBA program. Then we have our professional Masters of Science in Management, the Human Resources track. That is a cohort program at the downtown campus. And then the part-time professional professional MBA, which is one of our MBA tracks cohort program in the downtown campus as well. Right. So deadlines. Now that we know about the programs, we need to know when we can be admitted for it. So for summer 2025, we are accepting applications for the MSA, the Masters of Science in Accounting. So the application deadline for this is April 1st. This program does have some assistantship and scholarship opportunities available. So definitely recommend getting your application in as early as possible, but the application deadline for the summer start for this is going to be April 1st. Now this program, the MSA program, does admit every single semester. So if you do not make the summer semester for it, then of course you can always apply in the fall or next spring, next summer, and so on and so forth. So the remaining programs are going to be fall start programs, and the application deadline for fall is going to be July 1st. So you still do have plenty of time to get an application started and completed by the application deadline. If you notice, there's the professional MBA, the full-time, and the professional Masters of Science in Management Human Resources track. Those do have an early application deadline of March 1st. So if you are interested in those programs, definitely recommend applying by that early application deadline of March 1st so that you could be eligible for a slight discount in your tuition for those two programs. Okay, and then the Sport Business Management program, again, along with the MSA program, these are the programs that do have scholarships and assistantships available. So definitely recommend applying earlier rather than later for those as well. All right, so to contact us, we've given you a lot of information and we have lots more information on these programs that we offer. So if you're interested in any of them, we do have all of our contact information on this slide. So if you are interested in the professional MBA or the MSM Human Resources program, the best email address is gradbiz@ucf.edu. If you're interested in the evening MBA program, cbagrad@ucf.edu. FinTech, the financial technology program, fintech@ucf.edu. Dr. Elizabeth Altiero Pozemski is the MSA program director, so she is the best email contact for this program. So her email address is on here. It is altiero@ucf.edu. Dr. Harry Parsh is the program director for the business analytics program. So again, he is the best contact for this program. And his email address is harry.parsh@ucf.edu. And then Dr. Carlos Valdez is the program director for the integrated business department, or the integrated business program, sorry. And his email is carlos.valdez@ucf.edu. And then DeVos is the Sport Business Management Program name. So it's the DeVos Sport Business Management Program. So their email address is devos@ucf.edu. So these are the best contact information, email addresses for us if you should have any further questions or want any further information on any of these programs.
Yeah, so that's everything for the formal presentation. I think what I'll do is I'll leave this slide up for a moment. That way you could just grab any of those email addresses that you're interested in, just because I know you can't like highlight it and copy and paste it. So take a picture, or go ahead and write down the email address for the program that you're interested in. But while we're leaving this slide up, and since we're done with the formal presentation, are there any questions that we can help answer about building your graduate application or something program specific about one of our graduate degree programs? Feel free to type it in the chat and we can address it aloud, or feel free to unmute yourself and we'll do a little moderation in that way too. So I do see one question already. Students working with their school and as a result, admissions consideration. So we will take that into consideration again as part of a holistic review. We're looking at the big picture. So when a resume is included along with your transcripts, we will see exactly where you were working and what you were doing, along with the time frame or the semester that you may not have performed as well. And that is certainly something that is taken into consideration.
And again, like George mentioned earlier in the presentation, your goal statement, although you do have to answer those questions or those prompts, that is a good area to also explain if you do have a lower GPA or a semester with, a lower GPA, you can use that opportunity to explain that in your goal statement.
I also like to applaud you for working, if you were working full time, to work full time and go through undergraduate degree, because that's not easy. Really any
Absolutely.
degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll applaud you for that because it's not easy to complete that.
Mhm.
Any other questions that we can help address?
I would like to hear more about the sports business management program that you all have. You'd like to tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned, it is a dual degree. So it is a full-time cohort program. It does take about 2 years to complete. So you will take a lot of sports business management classes as well as some MBA classes. The MBA classes you would be with evening MBA students, and then you do graduate again with two degrees. So you get two diplomas to hang on your wall. One in sport business management, one is an MBA degree. That program, there is for the application requirements, there is no work experience requirement for it. Of course, the program does prefer to see a 3.0 GPA or higher. There is no required undergraduate degree for that program either. There is no internship requirement for it as well, but the program is kind of designed and set up where you're only in classes for fall and spring semester. So you have one summer in the program that you don't have anything. So if you were to find an internship opportunity, you would do it in your summer semester. It's not required by the program, but that would be when we would recommend that you do it.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
just to boast about that program a little bit, it is a very competitive program.
Mhm.
Although it's not in the presentation, you'll notice that the word DeVos or the name DeVos is in the front of this degree program. And for those of you not familiar, the DeVos family owns the Orlando Magic and has a lot of very strong ties in the sports
Yep.
community, and they have a direct partnership with this degree program.
They do.
So heavily tied, very competitive program. One of
Mhm.
our most notable alumni became the youngest general manager in San Antonio Spurs, or NBA history, rather, at 30 or 31 years old as a general manager for the San Antonio Spurs, direct graduate from the sports business management program. So just
Yep.
to throw a little boast on there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it is. I'm glad you mentioned that because it is a very popular program. So actually, and it only admits in the fall semesters. So for fall 2024, it completely filled, and we had a wait list. So that program, especially in particular, if you are interested in that, definitely recommend applying earlier rather than later. There are a lot of scholarship and assistantship opportunities for that program as well. So definitely get your application started. And then if you have any questions at all about it, definitely email us at thedevos@ucf.edu.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I
You're
see another
welcome.
student had put in a question. So, in your experience, what are some unique approaches students have taken to stand out during the application process?
Quite honestly, I think it would really be the things that I mentioned throughout the presentation, but just for a super quick recap, with the goal statement, I don't know if I would consider it a unique approach, but it really does stand out to me when you have a clear, concise goal of what you want to learn from an MBA and what you plan to do with it postgraduate. Because an MBA is a little bit of I'm sorry, I know I'm focusing on the MBA. That's a little bit of a generalist degree. So you can go and do whatever you want. So if you're able to tell me in advance before you even begin this program why and what you're going to do with it, that's impressive to me. You've done your research, you've thought about it well, and you know that it's the right fit for you because you're going to achieve what you're looking to do, and that's going to be written out in your goal statement. But for whatever, even if it's a specialized degree like business analytics, same exact thing. Instead of just and so what would stand out to me is not saying I hope to get a job in analytics. Okay,
Mhm.
analytics is a big field. There's a lot that you can do and go with that, right? Now, if you can get a little bit more honed into that and give maybe a specific example of what type of job function or job role you look to go and do, and understanding a skill set from this degree pads that, that's going to stand out to me, right? I guess so that would be on the goal statement side. Again, transcripts, there's really nothing unique you could do about that. That is what it is. And with the resume, it's really listing everything. So I mean, it's not, again, not a unique approach by any means. Anything else that you can add to that piece?
No, I mean, I do like what you kind of touched on earlier in the presentation with the resume. We do know that a lot of people, when they're looking for a job, they feel like they need to keep that resume to, as George mentioned earlier, like the one page. And we need the exact opposite of that. So when we have a candidate that applies for any of our programs, someone that lists out everything that they do, whether you think it is, if it works well with the program that you're applying for or not, add it to there so that we can calculate the best work experience for you, and just so that the application review committee can see what your background is. Because maybe, again, with the holistic view, if your GPA isn't quite that 3.0, but then they look and see that I'm just going to use this as an example. If you're applying to the financial technology program and you've been working in banking for 5 years, that's just going to look really good to the application review committee. So definitely don't be shy with your work experience. Put everything on there. And as George mentioned before, if your resume is 5 pages, that's fine. If it's 6 pages, that's fine. The more that we have to work with, the better the outcome could be.
Yeah, and when you're listing everything, you may not think that your job function or role ties to certain functions of the degree, but
Mhm.
a lot of times it very much may. So let's say that you just stock shelves at night at Publix and put cereal boxes on the shelf, okay? And you don't think that really ties well into the business side of things. Let's not forget that
Mhm.
you have a management team. You've learned soft skills in approaching meetings, right? Understanding goals of the company or of the store, rather, what they're looking to do. And then let's not forget that inventory, that stocking, you are on the tail end of supply chain management. Supply chain is very, very big in business and very important. That's where most companies cut, make, or die by their profits, is by supply chain. And so, again, I'm stocking boxes overnight at 17 years old at Publix. I don't have any real work experience. Actually, you very much do. And whomever your manager was, that inventory manager, may have said a few words here or there in between while you were stocking shelves, and you have a very basic idea, but maybe somewhat of a very small understanding of how Publix receives its inventory and how and then ultimately that does tie to supply chain. Then you're going to be sitting in that class and you go, oh my God, it all connects. So again, just another direct example of, you may not think your work experience relates, but it very much may. It's just on not the professional level that you're looking to get into. That's what our MBA is going to do, is going to advance that stock shelf holder into someone that's a procurement analyst. Then we
Oh,
get we get we get that we
me
get
too.
that all the time. That this is why I even put it on the presentation.
We
And
do.
I remember as an undergrad and going through resume workshops, they really hone in on the one page thing. And from a professional standpoint, I don't disagree. That may very well be the best approach when you are applying for jobs. But on the academic side and applying for a graduate degree, please let it be over a page. We have no problem with that. So don't worry about those tips and tricks they may be teaching you. Not bad tips and tricks, but that's more for your career and for
Mhm.
for a future job, and not for a master's degree. Very different.
Yeah. Yeah, and as George mentioned before, the application review committee, they're not going to be looking at the special little graphics that you have all over your resume. They're looking for the months and the years of your employment and also your job duties. That's what they're looking at. So again, don't be shy. Longer than a page, list out everything you do for those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Got another question. What advice would you give to students looking for those more professional internship positions if they're trying to transition before applying to the program?
So like a professional internship that they gain while in the program or post program, or something that
Or
they
before
should be looking to do
applying,
before they apply.
before applying.
It's a good question. Quite honestly, I think any internship is great. So any internship experience, I'm making up a percentage, but I'd have to say less than a quarter, if not up to a quarter at most, of our applicants have internships. So the fact in itself that you were able to get an internship, as competitive as it is now, I mean, I couldn't even find an internship when I was an undergrad, and that was over 10 years ago. I can't imagine what it's like now. So to make yourself stand out enough to even achieve the internship, I think is bright enough in our eyes. So don't worry about the type of internship that it is as much as you got that.
You got it, yeah. And then also, if you are applying to a program that does require any type of work experience, that internship is included in that. So that can be
100%.
used towards your work experience. So that's always a good thing too. Add it
Yeah,
to your
whether it was
resume.
whether it was paid or not, you worked. So that's work experience.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see. So if there are what, 4 or 5 people in the room today, then I'm going to see 5 brand new applications tomorrow. Is that right?
And if there aren't any final questions, I'll go ahead and post sort of a post-workshop link as well as our email. And then I'll ask the presenters to kind of throw their email in as well if the students feel more comfortable reaching out on a personal basis. And then if there aren't any other questions before you leave, please take the moment to fill out that survey. And then I'll also post our link tree as well for more AAP information if you're interested in attending more workshops or just learning more about what our academic advancement programs have to offer for you all.
Great. Yeah, I went ahead and put my personal email address in there. Feel free to send it to my personal email address. Fun trick, the gradbiz@ucf.edu email address. I am the only one that monitors that account. So it is almost like a personal email address. Don't feel like the gradbiz@UCF or the CBA grad is going to send you to a department with 18 people handling the emails. It is
Nope.
me and Meredith
That's-
that handle those 2 group accounts. But feel free to use our personal email address or the general one. Either way, we're answering it.
I'm so sorry that I keep sharing that email, with all the students. So now I know.
Oh no,
all
yeah,
about
that's
it.
fine.
Oh no, either way is perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it either way. So
Yeah.
Right.
I
But
think the
it's
grad,
good
the
to know
grad, the
that it's
grad.
only
I
you
think
guys,
I think the general one is just a little easier in case I win the lottery and leave out of nowhere. Then the transition of the new person can start using that email. That may be why it's on like things that are printed and posted and advertised. We'll use that email. So I'm sure there's logic and reasoning why. I'm not the marketing person, but but either one will come to us. Feel free to
We
email
get
either
it.
side.
We get it.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and just a final reminder, I've posted the survey form and the link to AAP's link tree for further information for anybody who's curious.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in on today's session. George and Meredith, thank you so much on behalf of Academic Advancement Programs for your support and collaboration. And thank you, students, for joining today. I hope you all were able to take away so much helpful information and insights. As Caroline mentioned, we have some helpful resources in the chat, so hopefully you all are taking advantage of that, visiting our link tree, contacting George and Meredith for any questions you may have. And again, thank you so much to everyone. We wish you a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everyone.
bye.
Thank you,
Thank you so
AAP
much.
team.
Bye.
Thank you,
Yes.
students.
Thank you for having us.